Hello everybody, welcome back to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Kiriakou. This episode I'm joined once again by Rob Saltrese, who has been on the podcast before. Rob has got over 25 years of experience in recruitment, technology, SaaS, consulting, etc. But in this episode, it was all around AI and not your typical doom and gloom or, whatever. It was all about if you're a founder of a recruitment business and you don't want to fall behind the curve, and you want to implement AI into your business, how do you actually go around that? What do you need to think about before you start buying shiny new tools? Also, what are the misconceptions around AI as well? How do you learn more about it? So Rob shared some really valuable things, and one of my best takeaways towards the end is, immerse yourself in it and just play. Just play around with it. Go on Claude Code, go and try and build some stuff, have some fun with it and immerse yourself. There were so many interesting, cool takeaways in this episode, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. The dog was playing up in this episode, gave him a stern talking to, but it was all good. Finally, as I always say, if you are new around here, we release episodes every single Tuesday, so make sure you hit follow, subscribe. If you are returning, thank you so much. Couldn't do this without you guys. So look, that's enough from me. Let's get into this week's episode, and I hope you enjoy.
Marshall, come here. Come on, here. Marshall, here.
Go over there.
Come on. I know you. Sit down. Good boy.
You gonna be chill?
I think as we were talking, he just kind of...
Yeah. As soon as I get up, he's just he's definitely an ADHD dog. Right, okay, cool. Let's get cracking. Rob, thank you very much for coming on again.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. So for people that don't know, I think it was over a year ago since we actually recorded, but our last episode came out almost a month to the date. And for people interested, that episode was all about harsh realities of growing, scaling, selling a business. So it's a wicked episode that we did. But for this episode, I know we touched a little bit on it in the first time about AI and things like that. But this particular episode is going to be really powerful for founders because there's so many misconceptions around AI, and there's a lot of things that you're doing in this space as well. So rather than kind of giving everyone a backstory again, because I recommend people go and listen to that episode, it's class, but just tell people, I guess, what you've been up to in the last year.
Yeah, so moved into, I was already moving in that direction, right? My passion for AI that I've had for about 10 years, but now fully launched Lyra Labs, which is my main business, which is a mix of high-end executive AI education. And when I say that, I mean we're actually talking about giving people the knowledge all around AI, governance, risk, how to approach it, strategy against your business goals, to give them the starting point before you start going and executing on bringing technologies into your company. Or if you've started, it gives you the right information that you need to really kind of do it properly. And that's for C-suite leadership. We do board members, non-exec directors and chair people right the way up to kind of big corporates and small businesses. And then our platform is called Lyra Pulse, and that is based off the power of ethnographic research. And it's all there to work with your employees to understand if your AI investment is working properly and what is the real AI adoption like within the business. Because it doesn't matter how much you spend, if your staff aren't using it properly, you're never going to know. And there's nothing out in the market that helps with that at the moment. So that's nearly built and ready to go. So that's very exciting. And then I also work with a company called My Team, which is an AI native talent solution, both for recruitment companies, internal talent teams and sales functions, which again is super exciting. It's bringing kind of really modern driven technologies into a background and an industry that I know and love.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, I, as we were talking before we click record, I didn't want this to be one of those typical AI doom and gloom, it's going to take your jobs, or vice versa. You see some of those AI is the best thing in the world. It doesn't matter that millions of people are going to lose their job. I think for this, the way I was thinking about this is that if I'm a founder of a recruitment business, we spoke just before we click record that there's so many shiny toys out there and legacy products now that have AI written on it. And a lot of people are getting overwhelmed with the amount of AI products that are out there, how to implement it, why they're actually thinking of implementing it. So yeah, I guess to start things off, the kind of misconceptions around AI in recruitment, I'd love to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think they're across the board in every organisation, right? As you rightly kind of pointed out, there's a mix of doom and gloom, which I don't believe in, right? Quite frankly, there's going to be a lot of things. Quite frankly, the whole point of AI is it should augment your staff, right? It is here to accelerate, develop and improve, but you will always need humans in the loop. And I believe that for quite a long period of time. This is even to people I'm speaking about who are building quantum stuff and AGI, right? It's still going to be there. So with that in mind, is where do you need your human in the loop, and then where do you bring technology in the right way to help them? But also then, so yes, there's going to be some things that slightly get replaced, some that get tweaked, but it's the people who can actually adopt AI and embrace it and learn. Even if you don't know anything, they'll be the people that keep their jobs. If you avoid it, hide from it, or think you know better, then you're in real trouble, right?
Yeah.
This is the same for kind of graduates. So that's just kind of my take on it. Plus, there are more AI businesses starting up every week than you can shake a stick at. They're raising silly amounts of money. They're hiring lots of people. So there are more jobs being created than people kind of truly realise. But then I think AI cannot do everything at all. So do not believe that. But then, you know, the naysayers that say it can't do much, it doesn't add value here, is also absolute rubbish, because there's some amazing things being done. And if you're not clued up on it and reading up on it, then you're kind of missing a trick.
Yeah. I think it was Cal Pesh that said they did some research around the different steps in the recruitment process. And he said there was overall there's 52 steps or something like that. And I'm paraphrasing here, I might be getting this wrong, but it's something like there's 2/3 of the steps of the recruitment process that you can automate and use AI for. But he said that I wouldn't recommend doing it for more than a third. And there was a guest recently, Adam Wagster, that mentioned a really cool quote that AI, the way to kind of implement it into your business is kind of similar to autopilot for flying planes. The takeoff and landing, human. Whilst you're going like that, AI, automation. I saw someone that commented on that post on TikTok, though, that said actually that you can use autopilot to land planes now. I was like, oh shit. But historically speaking,
it used to be like that, yeah, but now they do actually land the planes, ironically, a lot of the time, and sometimes
But I
not.
guess for the recruitment process, it does make sense if you think about it. You know, the first initial call with candidates and clients, the close, etc. Largely, a lot of that you can kind of put some sort of automation and utilize AI for a lot of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, quick one before we jump back into the episode. If you are a recruiter who feels like half your week disappears into admin, follow-ups, data cleaning, and jumping between several different tools, then listen up, because this episode is officially sponsored by Sourcewell. Sourcewell is the recruitment productivity platform, and I don't just mean another tool that you'll forget to use. I mean the tool that actually gives you your time back. You can run your entire desk in one place. Outreach, sourcing, data enrichment, multi-step email and LinkedIn sequences, inbox management, and even call notes. It's all there, synced, automated, and according to their stats, recruiters using Sourcewell see 56% higher response rates, double the pipeline, and approximately save around 8 hours of admin every single week. If you're like me, admin as a recruiter is the devil, and this productivity platform really helps you save a load of time. So reach out to Sourcewell, go to sourcewell.com. It's a fantastic platform. I've used it myself. I really believe in it, and I'm super grateful for them sponsoring the podcast. Let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I'd never put a percentage number on it, right? It's you need to analyse your own business, the steps you take. So everyone does it slightly differently, although the same goals are there, from picking up new business, pitching organisations, trying to pick up a job or a project, and getting people through the process to completion, right? That's the end result, to make revenue. That's it. So map out what you do, look how it works. It may be that some companies start with a small amount, but again, the biggest piece of advice I'd say to people is get started.
Yeah.
But have a think, build a bit of a strategy. Doesn't need to be 12 months or 2 years. Get the right people in to understand what you're doing. Teach yourself more and read up on it, and take small steps. But small steps build up and make a big difference. But yeah, I think you can probably do more than 2/3 in all honesty. And I personally don't agree with only doing the 1/3, because that's not the point. It's where do you need your humans? Where do you want them in the loop? And the reality is, if that's first calls with candidates, but they could have already had potential online calls with avatars and systems, done technical tests, you've queried and questioned their GitHub, you know, all these different things that can be done by AI, use that.
Do you think, just on that though, is super market specific though? Because I think that there's some markets that, for example, I've recruited medical sales reps, right? Most of those candidates could change now if they applied to my job or saw an automated outreach from myself, and then the first call was, hey, this is Charles's AI, I'm going to ask you some questions. Especially the senior candidates, like for me personally, if I had an AI call up and say, hey, it's Rob Saltrese's AI avatar, I'm going to ask you some questions, I'd be like, are you fucking joking me? Like, maybe that's just me being egotistical, maybe I might change down the line, but do you not think that might be quite market specific?
Maybe, listen, I think it's person by person. I don't think if you went and interviewed 100 top senior medical reps, they'd all give you the same answer.
True.
And that's the reality. So it's a it's a person by person basis. You're right, some won't want to, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But even if we look at 12 months ago, when I mentioned to people being, understanding what avatars were, speaking to AI chat systems, it was really alien to them last year. And a lot of people were like, no, and some were like, yeah, cool, just embrace it. Now it's becoming more and more and more discussed, more and more potentially something that can happen or is happening. So as time goes by, that will change. So I wouldn't jump into that straight away, but have all of your systems ready that you could then add in an avatar-based solution that would do that. Or you can do it, or you can say, I'd love you to speak this now we can do very quickly and have 10, 15 minutes, which is precious for a candidate, right, to have a short call. And then I'll get you on a call, with Charles. Great.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? I speak to people now. We know that so many people are desperate for jobs. The industries has been very hard for 3 years. If someone sent, most people don't ever get any feedback from anyone ever, anything.
Yeah.
So if you're a candidate now and you get that request to do a bit of a test and have a quick call with Rob's avatar,
Yeah.
do you think the likelihood's gone up a little bit? I'd probably say yes, but yeah, I wouldn't launch to that straight away.
Yeah.
But it's get yourself in a place where you've got the steps already and you could do that if you need to. But the first part of that probably is done by AI in some respects.
And I think to your point as well that I think more and more people are starting to embrace it. So, when we first spoke on the podcast last year, that was a really alien thing. And AI is evolving so damn quick right now that, even me, I'm slightly coming round to the idea that if I was, 23-year-old me again, and you apply for how many jobs when you're a trainee, get bugger all back from people. And if someone said, here's a call with an AI agent and I'm, looking for a job, regardless of how senior I am, you know what? Yeah, it's part of the process. Fine. So I think in the next few years, I can imagine that will be something that people will be more open to. And also, the voice AI technology has massively improved in the last year. When we started demoing products for Milo with video avatars and stuff, janky as anything, really robotic. I mean, ChatGPT for what it is right now, is really good. First time I used it, I was like, it's okay, it's not great. Who knows what it's going to be like in 2-3 years' time? You're going to be speaking. It sounds like you're speaking to a real human.
It's changing. I hate the phrase. I don't hate the phrase. It is changing at the speed of light. These frontier businesses, so the likes of Anthropic and everyone else, they are changing their systems every couple of months. Before it was like mobile phones and registrations for cars once a year. Then it became maybe 2-3 times a year. It's coming every few months. I mean, we only had Claude, for example, only launched Opus 4.6 in January or February, and then 4.7 came out. And the difference between the two was significant. And then they released Claude AI Design and everything else, and then ChatGPT released their new one to catch up. So, yeah, I think if you don't embrace it, and as I said, this is whether you interact with these things and you're a candidate or anything, you will fall behind. The youngsters are a lot more AI native now. They've grown up with devices their whole lives anyway. They're far more used to these systems. I think they probably happily do it, right? And then they're only going to get older and older, so start changing the dynamic of the marketplace. Yeah.
Well, I think what you were just saying then a second ago around kind of evolve with the times and embrace it is something that when we were brainstorming what Milo was going to be, and my business partner Naz was saying AI is about to explode. We, rather than have a legacy kind of video platform, we should look at AI. And my immediate reaction, looking back, is hilarious. Was just like, oh, no, what do you mean? Because I was one of those people that was just like, I'd rather just do it myself. You know what I mean? I don't want AI to kind of do it. And then I started to play around with it and subscribe to a couple of newsletters and started listening to podcasts. I was like, oh, okay. Good example, I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I used to manually write all of my coaching reports from memory, and I do 6 or 7 in a day whilst I'm on site and spend the whole hour at the end of the day doing it. No AI note taker, no ChatGPT coaching framework or template, nothing like that. Now I'm saving all my time doing that, and I'm going into businesses now and I'm asking them about their tech stack. I always say that's not my thing. I'm not going to sit there and advise on your tech stack, but if I'm going to come in and help your staff, I want to understand what you're currently using. And when I mention about note takers and dialers and stuff, and people are like, I'm like, really? I was like, you're not using that. And I was like, mate, I used to spend hours a day typing up my notes. You can just get that done for yourself. It's kind of mental. So you unfortunately get those people that have the mindset I had a year ago, which was, no, I don't care. And it was people like yourself and a few people that come on the pod were like, Charles, embrace it. Don't get left behind. Ride the fucking wave. And obviously now we're doing something in that space. But from your perspective, if you're in the shoes of a founder right now, and you're being pitched AI products, legacy products with an AI twist on it, left, right, and center. What advice do you have, or how would you kind of approach it when you're looking at taking on some AI automation products into your business?
I think one, map out, as I said, a small plan. You need to read up on stuff, right? Like you said about diving in and being in the game. The minute you start reading, you start understanding, get a couple of the tools yourself, even if it's just the chat systems, right? Get on Claude, build something, make something, realise what's feasible, and then you'll know what some of these systems might be able to do. Have a little plan of the things that you'd like to look at first. What bits of the workflow in your business do you want to tackle? Business development? Do you want to tackle sourcing? Do you want to tackle market map? Like, what is it you want to tackle? Where do you think you're going to get the biggest wins for your business? But again, it's based on your business goals. Do that first. Then this is harsh, but I would only speak to companies that are AI native, in all honesty.
Why?
Because otherwise you're talking about legacy systems. Sorry, Bullhorn and everybody else from the big CRMs or any of the other tools that are out there. They're all older systems that have been built that they can't stop and start again and redesign because it costs too much money. And they've got wrappers on them of some description. So they are not AI native at all, unfortunately. Unless something's been built in the last 18 months, maybe 2 years, forget it, right? Genuinely. So also that means you need to accept that companies are going to be new, brand new, and some are small and some might not have loads of customers yet, but it doesn't mean that the technology is not fantastic. Nobody had heard of ChatGPT on that Thursday night, ever. I knew it was coming. My friends had told me about it for 5 years. I told all of my friends, they laughed at me. Was millions of people around the world using it by that Saturday morning? Of course they were. Playing around, getting it to make poems and all sorts of stuff and messing around. So that same principle applies. So I definitely look at AI native solutions, go and compare, but embrace it. Stop thinking, well, I'm not sure it does that or it can't do this. Listen intently, look at what it can potentially do, try it, use it, and get a feel for it. But that would be my advice. But you've got to have a bit of a plan, right? You've got to know what areas of your business, and it might be all three things. You might want to go, Jesus, I really do want to improve, I want to add 20, 30%, 40% more productivity and output from my staff by doing some really good stuff before I go and hire new ones. Because the good thing is the market seems to have turned quite a lot this year, which is brilliant. I'm so thankful for it for every, a million reasons. But now I just see people hiring staff again. And I'm like, that shouldn't be your first port of call. That means AI is not your number one thing as you're thinking of the business, which means I think personally you're failing yourself as a CEO, right? Whether you're recruitment or a big FTSE 100, you should be doing that.
Yeah. What you said about kind of mapping out your processes and looking at it that way, right? So what's my candidate attraction process? What's my business development process? You mentioned there about market mapping, right? So I haven't properly used Claude yet. My business partner binned off ChatGPT and he's using that because he's doing a lot of the operation side of the business. Claude seems to be it's unbelievable for that. A lot of the marketing stuff, I feel ChatGPT is great. Like the new image creator that they've got, is fucking outrageous. Like you just sent the most basic prompt of all time. There you go.
They're both pretty powerful, right? And they've overtaken, I've forgotten the name of the company that everyone was talking about last year that did images already being that.
Yeah. It's light years ahead. Like this is completely off recruitment topic, but I jokingly said to my wife, "I've got a haircut tonight, and I'm going to get like a buzz cut just as a joke." My wife was like, "No." I was like, ChatGPT, what haircut do you recommend? Sent a selfie, and it sent me like 4 different types of haircuts from like 3 different angles, and I was like, "What?" That's just that alone. I was like, and I'm thinking a bit about it from like a marketing perspective about creating infographics. I do everything myself. Do you know what I mean? Like on Canva and manually and all the rest of it. Like the capability for that is phenomenal. But again, I go into that with what do I want to actually achieve out of this? Not just, AI, let's just play around with it.
It's the only way to look at it. What do I want to get to? Why do I think it would be useful here? And what do I then want to look at to test and see and validate if it's got the capabilities to help me, right? And that's what you should be doing.
100%.
Not it sounds good and it could be, whatever. It needs to do that, but only after you kind of plan carefully. Because you wouldn't have done this, right? If you look at, we were talking about this earlier, but any other change that we've had in, people wouldn't have not adopted emails when they came out in the late 90s, right? I'm sure there are probably people who avoided it, people using fax machines and sending CVs. when people have gone through big, cloud computing or CRM changes, you speak to experts, you bring them in, you have a plan, you have an implementation. That's what you should do. But because Gen AI has come in so rapidly and people are feeling like they're behind, and because it's easy to buy tools and licenses, that's what they're doing with no thought process behind it. And it's not the technology that's not there. There's a knowledge that people need to admit that they don't have, which most people don't. Be curious, for one thing, and then have some sort of, and that's how it works better.
Yeah. So I do a lot of work with businesses around BD, right? About, cold outreach, building out a market, etc. If I'm a solo founder or, a founder of a scale up and business development across the board is not as good as it could be, and my objective, my outcome, my ideal outcome is to create some sort of system that can attract more businesses and allow my consultants to do business development a lot easier and a lot more effective. That person's probably going out there and thinking, what can I build, or what products are kind of out there? What would you kind of do in that situation? BD and getting good clients in, mapping out my market. That's my kind of objective, loosely speaking, because there would be specifics. But how would you kind of approach that when we're thinking about AI and stuff?
Again, I think it's just looking and trying to speak to people about different, solutions that are out there, right? They're often wrapped into bigger things anyway. And I would also look at things that are a little bit more all-inclusive rather than just one. Otherwise, you end up with the same problem that's happened in the last 10 years, where loads of these other tools come out, from scraping names to getting you details to, Bowhurst and Crunchbase for financial stuff to Outbound and this. And they were all individual components that you knew would be beneficial. You ended up buying lots of them that cost an awful lot of money, and none of them integrated. So the more you can find an integrative AI native solution that does multiple things, the better. But even if you can find one that is well priced, that does that business development piece very well, but it should be all around really powerful market intelligence, right? Think of the most powerful human you could have in your business with the power of all the technology. What would you want them to do? You want them to be ahead of the game, thinking of predicting things, understanding markets, trends, patterns, what's going on, and then, even within our solution, you can look at, things that are all across, dynamic data. And when I talk about that, static data are things like LinkedIn, Apollo, job boards, all these places. When you've got something that can go and scrape dynamic data, which is moving live data across any digital footprint, you've got access to an awfully large pond of information. Now, if that's scraping board reports, if it's scraping attendees at an event, for example, or people who've got certain certifications and qualifications that you might need if you're doing SE cleared stuff, or high-end tech or development or whatever it may be, and you get sentiment, and you've got now the power. This is the thing where AI fits in. It can go and get it, can understand it, and because essentially it's PhD level stuff, it can give you predictions on likelihoods of things happening.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what you should be using to then go, here you go, Charles, here's some bullish things that are optimistic but might happen. Here's some really powerful stuff that's just started going on that you won't hear about for months otherwise, but we found it. And then that puts you at the front of the game. And that's what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Is being right at the forefront, because, let's be honest, if people are suddenly speaking to a business about a project or a live job, that thinking has been done way before. Let's not pretend.
Yeah.
So that's what people need to get in that mindset of, and they need to try and be as early back in that rainbow curve as possible.
Yeah.
At that thinking point.
Hey, if you're a founder or a leader within a recruitment business and any of these problems resonate, I'd urge you to reach out to me. If you notice inconsistent performance across the sales team, if you notice that you're trying to scale your business, but it's not really sustainable the way that you're doing it, and perhaps you're in that tricky situation where new people are coming into the business, draining the time of billing managers and senior consultants, and the top billers are being diluted by those guys, and it's quite difficult to upskill the trainee consultants, and typically that ends up in having retention issues. If any of those problems resonate with you at all, it's worth us having a conversation. We are currently building something that I firmly believe is going to completely change L&D and recruitment, and I'd love to tell you a little bit about what we're doing, get your insights on that, and perhaps it might be something I could personally help with. So yeah, if any of those problems resonate even slightly, reach out to me. All my details below this video. Let's have a chat. Yeah.
Or before some stuff's already been done.
So if I'm recruiting like founding engineers, software engineers, etc., in startups in America or whatever, that's then utilizing AI to look at companies that are just about to secure investment, that perhaps don't have jobs yet, don't have projects live yet, but getting ahead of the curve in that respect and going, okay, cool, these are companies that will be in my ICP because they're going to be hiring soon, essentially.
Yeah, certainly of that ilk, or they've been somewhere, they're speaking to certain people, certain things have happened, like it can track that maybe it's been 2 years since they raised their Series A. So two things are going to happen there. One, they should be getting a Series B very soon if you look at traditional trajectories, which is great. So what are the potential things they might be hiring, or what are their pain points stopping them getting a Series B, and or is it not going very well, and do you go and take people out of that business to put them somewhere else? So that's a big signal indicator.
That's an interesting one as well, actually. I didn't think about that.
So what is happening in that life cycle? Like we did it the other day. We were speaking to a brilliant American-Israeli tech business, like monster growth, probably going to be going for an IPO in not too kind of distant future. And we were just looking at one of their competitors, and it said they haven't raised for 4 years after a very big Series C. And you're like, that's like a red flag. Why have they not done that? Two things are happening. Somehow they might be going for an IPO, which is very unlikely at that stage, or they're struggling. So you go, great, okay. And then it had all this information on what's going on, who might have moved, who's left, what's happening. That is incredible knowledge to take into a call or to take into a pitch, or to then have a system that is pitching this stuff for you. How good's that? I mean, that's like stuff that your staff wouldn't ever be able to come up with, ever.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So in terms of like the non-negotiable stuff, I mentioned earlier, like since note takers have been a thing, I joked with my business partner Naz yesterday. I was like, mate, imagine if we were trainee recruiters today with the knowledge we have around recruitment and the training expertise we have, we'd clean up. Because before, before Zoom Info, before Lusher, before, LinkedIn was LinkedIn back then, like everything was so manual. Like there was no like email automation outreach. There was nothing. Right now, like literally, we typed in the most basic prompt imaginable into Claude, and it's created, similar to what you were saying, a spreadsheet of 100, and it tells you whether they're, green is a solid fit for your ICP, and it gives you an actual reason why they would buy your products and things like that. And then you're speaking to people on the phone, it tracks everything that you've said, and then you can that will give you like next steps, and then it's just, there's so much out there. But again, to my point at the start, for some people that might be really overwhelming, right? So if you're running a recruitment business now, and again, granted, I understand that you've got to understand what your objectives are, but what would you say are like non-negotiables? Because I would say that note takers, for me personally,
if you haven't got them, like, I don't know what you do. No, genuinely, they're so simple and cost effective and cheap, and that isn't a big mistake thing you can make. So what I mean is it's not something that you need to do a catastrophic amount of research on and panic. Some are pretty good, some are slightly better than others. There's loads of research on them now, so go and do that. Bring one in. I now get people constantly going, can you resend me the notes? Can you send me the information? Or can you send me the summary? Or can you actually send me the video? Because I want to watch that part back. Why would you not do that? Everything we had before was in our head or written on a pad. And your bosses wanted you to type it onto a system, right? How ridiculously cumbersome is that? What a waste of time.
Massive waste of time.
That should be a non-absolute. If you don't have that, stop.
I'm not going to name names, by the way, but when we had a product for Milo, we've gone through that journey now. I spoke to a business and they said, so how does it work? The role play sound cool, but the in the flow of work thing sounds really cool. How does it work? And I was like, really simple. If you have a dialer, it just listens into computer audio. They were like, oh, okay, we don't actually have a dialer. And I went, oh, how do you guys operate? We've got landlines? And I paused. I was like, sorry, what? I was like, landlines? And it's like, yeah, we just call from that. And I went, right, really? So you don't have note takers? Well, it doesn't work because it's through the landline. I was like, you still have a landline? And they recommended me someone to speak to, and this guy's come on the podcast, and he shook his head before we clicked record and was just like, I've told them so many times, you guys are missing a fucking trick. And like Granola, I use the free version. My business partner's paid, I think it's barely anything a month, and that doesn't join your calls, and it gives you the summary, and you can just cut and paste the transcript and stuff. But I'm just sat there, and mate, there are businesses out there that just, no, what's the point? I'll just do it all myself. 1 second. Marshall, come in. What are you doing?
No, I haven't got anything.
Just relax, chill out. It gets distracted because you can hear things in there. Idiot. So note takers, absolute non-negotiable for me. I think we both agree. Email automation. So who was it I was speaking to about this the other day? I think it was our developer, and he said he was asking me a question. He was like, how many automated emails do you get per day on LinkedIn and email? And I was like, oh, mate, I've lost count. I don't reply to any of them. And it's the bullshit personalization of, I'm seeing what you're doing at infinite learning. It's like, no, you haven't taken time to personalize it. And I think some people now, and I'm assuming a lot of candidates and clients will probably get this, where it's like, is it really personalised, or is that a personalised with just some of the?
I had this conversation with a couple of interns that are helping us the other day, and I said we can build all these second and third and fourth paragraphs and tweak them, but they've got to be written by us. They can be sent out by platforms and found and everything else. But I said the first paragraph needs to be, no, it was written by Rob.
Yeah.
Whether even the English isn't great, whatever, doesn't matter. That's at least honest, because people have got fatigue of that. You know, I got one the other day and it had scraped a line from my old CXO piece. Oh, I'm really interested to see you're doing that. It's like, oh my God,
yeah.
Really? I'd rather go, hi Rob, I've read a little bit on Lyra. I'm just mad I don't really understand what ethnographic research is, but I'd love to find out more about it because it might be interesting for what we're doing. I just want to... That's real.
I think
and
that's
people want that now. And this is my point about human in the loop. That's human in the process. And you need to demonstrate that that's there, because people just get really annoyed otherwise. But doesn't mean you can't use technology to do loads of that. But I would make sure you're not just using it to scrape and take in a quick route, because that's a quick route to market.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's not you personalising that first paragraph, which may take more time.
Yeah.
It will. But would you rather send 100 of those and have people actually read them and get some responses, rather than people going, great, you've scraped a post and gone, oh, it's really interesting, that article you wrote.
Yeah. It's, people who've got big time fatigue, and obviously, source of our sponsor this podcast, I use their entire suite, the CRM, the dialer, and the email outreach. The first ever campaign I did, I put loads of the personalization things like name, company, date, time, blah, blah, blah. And the reply rate was something like 15%, and there was like 40 odd people in the campaign. Still decent numbers. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to switch up my BD strategy and just use the podcast as a pure lead generation tool. I'm just going to reach out to people in my ICP if you're interested in coming on the podcast. And the very first email, I've basically put custom variable, which means I can't auto send it to someone like yourself or whoever. I have to go in, and as I'm adding them to my CRM, I have to write a custom paragraph, right? My reply rate went from 15 to 50%, right? Straight away, because every single time I'm like, oh, this CEO of this recruitment firm, 15 heads, great. I read through their profile, and because I've been doing this a while, it's a lot easier for me. For a trainee, it will take a little bit longer, but trust me, it gets easier. And I go through, and a good example, a guy that came on the podcast recently, he done a post about, he hates it when people say, I'm keen to speak to you about this. So I wrote a message to him saying, hi mate, good to connect. Keen to discuss some things with you. Keen to see if you're interested in the podcast. Really liked your post. Keen to get your thoughts on it. Just left it like that, and he replied, just absolutely cracking up, going, that's hilarious, like, I'm glad the post resonated with you. But an AI wouldn't... Okay, let me stop. Maybe AI in the future might be able to go, okay, this is how you speak, and maybe add a bit of comedic kind of language to it, but he could tell that wasn't just an automated thing. I've taken some time out, and it isn't, I've read your recent article, and it's very interesting, keen to hear more. It was very specific and a bit humorous, and he immediately came back, and...
But that's the value add, right? And you've put yourself back in that part of the chain. You tried and tested it and gone, that's not working, and then look at the uptick, right? That's what I mean about map out a process. You try and test things, it may work at the beginning, and then it may not in a few months. AI isn't going anywhere, ever. Only one way. So that's what I mean about learn and listen for one thing, and kind of really be curious and kind of get involved. But you're going to have to keep adapting, even when people bring in, and I mean proper AI agents. I don't mean some simple things that are doing some workflows, which is still really useful. But when you've got the agent that you build now might not be fit for purpose in 6 months.
That's crazy.
Because other bits and steps of your process may have changed or evolved. So that's how you kind of need to think of it. It's kind of get things in place, and then, you know, it's like when they paint the, the Forth Bridge. The minute they finish, they have to start again. That's kind of the concept. Yeah. You're never going to be done. This is not a one and done.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever again.
100%.
So,
yeah, I'm a bit fed up. I've mentioned this a couple of times on the pod, but the one that really got me, and it still tickles me to this day, was when someone sent me a message, and it was one of those classic new school sales approaches of like, this might be crazy, but hang fire, I'll send you a voice note. And I was like, oh, okay, he's going to send me a voice note. I'll listen to it. It's a 30-second voice note. And initially I couldn't tell it was AI until he read the name of my business that has a 1 in it, Infinite Learning, IN INF1. And he went, yeah, really interested to hear how you're currently getting on at INF1 learning. And I was like, you've sent me a fucking AI voice note? So I replied all in caps, like, don't mess with me again. And he was just like, are you not adapting with AI, blah, blah, blah. I was like, bro, if you're going to send a voice note, send me a voice note. I don't even care if you've got some platforms out there, you can have a pre-recorded voice note that you can send en masse, which is, hi mate, really good to connect. Just as an FYI, I help people with X, Y, and Z.
But
Fancy chat.
it's still you.
But it's still you. That's the fucking point I'm trying to make. So I got really angry with that. And then I had an AI phone call as well. And I was like, for me, and I don't know whether this is me being old fashioned, right? But, you know, we were talking about different parts of the process that you can use AI for and stuff like that, especially for recruitment, which is what this whole show is all about, right? That human touch. If you get really fucking good at that human touch, you are pissing me off, dog. Please. Yeah, if you really get good at the human stuff, asking good questions, actually fucking listening to what that person's saying, empathizing, sharing stories, adding value, you'll be so much more successful. Because to your point earlier around a bunch of newer recruiters that are coming into the industry that are a lot more tech-centric and really good with AI and stuff like that, if you're terrible in an in-person meeting, you can't even shake someone's hand, look someone in the eye, and the other recruiter is actually deeply caring about what that person's saying, offering value and stuff, you're going to lose. Because eventually, so many agencies are going to get on this wave, utilize AI, automation, etc. But the agencies that are really fucking nailing that human-to-human stuff, they're going and utilizing the AI, they're going to go like that. But the people that are just solely focusing on the tech and not actually implementing the human stuff, they're going to go downhill, man.
Yeah, massively. I mean, it's the same for any business, right? It's as I said, it's get it in the right point, find out where you want your people, what benefit their voice, skills, brain, why you've hired them. Because none of us were hired to write and send emails and click buttons and drag and drop things between here, and it's just because that's what our jobs were. But that's not it. You're hiring a person, and a person with a unique set of skills and a brain and their way of approaching things, and that innate either talent or capability to be talented, right? Especially if they're junior, you need someone who's got that drive and energy and everything else. So, and that's what you're bringing in, and that's then just what you've got to nurture. And actually, I also think you're going to be able to take junior people and rocket ship them quicker, which is why I still believe there's roles for graduates and junior people. It's not going to be wiped out, because why would I hire someone, just being, candid, why would you hire someone on a 60, 70, 80k basic when you can hire someone on 30k and push them towards that point very quickly, like genuinely? And forget all the old academies that we used to have back in the day, and I know you've done all that stuff. You give them the power, but then you can also try and fail quickly. So if they don't work out, but if they do, and they've got the right intelligence level and the IQ to do it.
Yeah. Well, you've just raised something interesting, right? So I spoke with a business recently who are hiring graduates, right? And I asked them what their process was with the new academy coming in. And they kind of looked at me dumbfounded, just like that. So I was like, so what, the managing director is going to run all the training? Do you even have training? Do you have systemized processes? Like, what, are you just going to be one of those businesses that are going to bring on a bunch of graduates and go, right, here's how you speak to candidates, here's how we qualify jobs, like that, and go? And then the manager's going to help you, and they're already stretched and stuff. And they were like, oh, yeah, we don't actually have a plan. So I was like, look, if you're going to get someone like me, and if I'm not a fit, I've got other people I can recommend, but this is how I'd map it out. And eventually, I think they only hired a couple of people in the academy, so it didn't really make sense to fork out a shitload of money for an external trainer to just train 2 people. Totally get that. But what I'm quite interested in now is, how do you actually implement AI? You mentioned there about supercharging the trainees, right? Because when I was a trainee and when I hired trainees, they were like research associates, right? We got them to scrape Zoom info, Crunchbase, basically just glorified admin person, like adding people to the system. Maybe they might do like an initial qualification with the candidate to see if they're good for our market, then go, right, I've spoken to Rob, he's got this set of skills, have you got anything for him? And then I take it over type thing. But now with the power of AI, you could essentially, hypothetically, have an AI kind of research associate, and then that trainee consultant. Like, so basically, going round and round here, but what would you suggest for a business that is looking at hiring graduates to utilize AI within that academy, if that makes sense?
2 things. One, they should already have.
Carry on.
Yeah, they should already have their plan to mapped out as to where they want kind of AI across the business, because then you'll know exactly what all the new workflows and everything looks like, and then you can take them on that journey, right? Because you still will always train them on the process, won't you? What you do, how you do it, how does our business do it? So ideally, you need that slightly mapped out first. Otherwise, you're training them something you haven't got. So have that planned out. That will already be a different type of role. But you're going to teach them a lot of stuff that's tech driven, which they will know about. And they will want to embrace quicker than someone who's 40 or 50 years old, quite frankly, right? Or who's done it for 10, 15 years and thinks they're a dog's bollocks and they make loads of money. And I'm like, yeah, great. I will still eclipse you. So have that planned out first, to a greater or lesser extent. It's never going to be perfect. It will always evolve. So that's the thing as well. You've got to then be able to move it quickly. You can use AI to help you build the training program, right? Then when they're in, you can use AI to deliver some of said training program, right? Got your voice calls, you've got the examples, you've got live intonation that's coming that you guys are doing at Milo. All that stuff that never existed before and can sit on their desk and with them constantly, and everything else that will take loads of pressure away, I think, from managers and team leaders, is going to be immense. So look at it that way. Like, what is the positive nature if you can get someone from zero to some sort of consistent billing, but having continuous support and being able to test something, right? Do I think you're going to really need the original type of research as we've had in exec search? No. Why? The system's a PhD level. The scraping capabilities are incredible. What it can research and what it can do is far beyond a human. Why would you have that? Plus, I know, the amount of people we know now and my contacts at the very top end, all C-suite, really senior, they've hated the process of having to be cool with a researcher, then cool with a junior before they maybe speak to the senior person who's got that project with said business. Like, why have I gone through that process? It's daft. But it comes back to anything that you look at business or anything. Architecture, you name it, since the dawn of time. We've always done it that way. If that's your outlook, give up. Like, genuinely. I was even listening to something this morning and someone had said to me, I was told that's just the way they always did it. Like, do you think that's how, architects came up with things that we knew? The Romans changed things right the way through to, chefs, business. If you don't do and try and adapt and do something different and push boundaries, that's never how mankind has ever existed. We push boundaries constantly. And we've done it. And then we've now got stuff that can do ridiculous things, from flying people into space, coming back down and landing. So get on with it, right? Yeah. But I think, right the way back to your point, there's some really interesting things you can do now about shaping how you train people and using AI across almost every step, to greater or lesser extent, that you are then going to be able to, supercharge people and allow them to use a technology to do what a researcher would do. Yeah. But at speed, but then go much higher end. And how do I think about the market mapping, and how do I think about intelligence layer of all that predictive stuff that I told you about? And then, I've already got a couple of interesting candidates, and it's found me another 2 or 3 more that match this precisely, and another 3 companies that do exactly what this current company I've got. Well, that's who I'm going to go after. And if it's already done that, and then it's built some sequencing, and then you add in your own little personal bit, that's the job. Yeah. And then you move and you shift at speed. It's still going to be speed and volume, but you're going to do much better jobs within that space. Yeah.
What you were saying about the utilising AI in the training academies, I'll never forget, I met with Ezra Chapman a year and a bit ago, and it was the first time someone put, those like AI doom and gloom type people. He just scared the shit out of me. He showed me that viral video of the humanoid robot playing rock, paper, scissors, and it lied to the person. I was like, I've never played this, tell me the rules. And it was like looking at the micro muscle movements in the face to predict what they would do. And then he beat him like 5 times in a row. And I looked at him and went, mate, like AI robotics is it's going to be insane. I was like, oh my God. I remember like on the train home going, shit, we're living in iRobot. This is going to be crazy. But the reason why I mentioned that is I asked him, and again, back then I was very like, AI, whatever. Is AI really going to replace a person in a boardroom doing classroom training? And his opinion was absolutely. Now, I think that there will be a time in the future where that will be a case where you don't necessarily need a L&D person running the training. However, I think that we might then fall into a situation in society where people miss that human to human connection and actually sit down with someone. Like, the power of AI coaching is phenomenal, but I don't think it will be at the capacity of actually having a human and having that 5 minutes of like, how's your mum getting on? Like, oh yeah, my mum went through the same type of thing. Anyway, should we crack on? That type of thing, I think, humans are social creatures, right? And as much as AI and everything is fantastic, but I'm curious to hear kind of your perspective on that. Like, do you think that humans are just going to go, actually, do you know what, who gives a crap that human stuff is gone? Or, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there'll be an in-between. And bear in mind, all this stuff takes time. So whatever you see out in the market or people are really talking about and pushing, most businesses are 12, 18 months, 24 months behind in ever starting these things. So last year was supposed to be the year of the AI agent, and it was the year that they were very capable. How many companies are using them? Barely any. Right? I mean, I even know from speaking to my friend at PwC that they, without really lots of people knowing, they somehow built over 15,000 different agents.
Wow.
But without a right plan, because 60 are operational and 4 actually add any value. Pretty much one of the best consultancy companies on the planet that work in AI space. So tells you everything. But I think robots certainly a really interesting one, right? But will they do certain things? Probably. I think you're right. Humans will want human contact always. Well, from what I can see and envisage, even my thinking, there'll be bits of it will change in certain environments, but other bits where you won't want it to change. And people don't. There's a big thing already about cognitive unloading. So, are you learning enough by allowing just AI to do all of these different things for you? Now, you've got to learn to manage and understand and look at it and read. And that's why I say people need to be curious. Can you take information out in different ways than you would have historically done it? Now, again, going back to my point, do I think that dragging and dropping and prepping a CV and writing it all up and writing your notes and that used to take hours, let's be honest. Even on a busy day, if you'd spent between 2 and 3 hours on the phone, that was a lot. So what else are we doing? Like shit, really, in essence. So when you look at it with that lens, it's different. But the cognitive unloading is a fear that people have in the higher echelons of this kind of space. And it's something that we're trying to even manage with Lyra Pulse and understand the adoption piece, because that can be something that creates a bit of a fear for people. So you need to understand why and how you manage that. And that's what you've got to be able to do, is manage that within your business. So, but yeah, I mean, I think human contact, that's never changed.
Yeah.
Since whenever mankind came along,
right?
Yeah. So wait and see. But because I know how much happens in AI and technology and robotics and what's coming with quantum, could anything happen? Absolutely. Yeah. And I have no idea what 10 years is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what to your point at the start of the conversation, what's going to happen in the next few months. It's changing so quickly. Yeah, we've been so mindful about the messaging and language, because myself and my business partner, we're L&D people, we're trainers, right? We still do face-to-face online coaching and training and things like that, and we're really mindful that we don't want to come across as we're replacing the L&D department and you're never going to need face-to-face training, because there's businesses out there across not just L&D but across AI that's like, you won't need this person in your business anymore. And I'm like, I mean, fair play, it's not the way I am. Like, I just don't feel like that is the nice kind of message. And we've spoken to so many other trainers, like we've got a nice community of trainers that we refer work to one another and whatnot. And when we showed them what we had built in March, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And the kind of thing that we was explaining to them is that this isn't meant to replace you. This is meant to help you. And a load of the trainers are looking at us going, "Sorry?" And I was like, "Okay, put yourself in the shoes where you're in an office, you're on site. There's 10 recruiters, right? And you're working on desk with one recruiter. You're probably going to have your ears and eyes open to seeing what's going on. So as that consultant's qualifying a job or whatever, someone might say something and you go, Rob, that's a great question. That then takes you away from what you're doing with this consultant. So you can't be fully present with that consultant. So actually, it's not as sustainable, it's not as scalable if you can only work with one person at a time. Now imagine you're doing that with that one person, but the AI is listening to every single call across the office, so that when you go and sit next to Jimmy, you can go, cool, Jimmy, pull up your last 3 calls, let's see what the scores were saying, and then coach them around that. Because the AI can still coach them on that, but you have a human that can pick up on things that perhaps the AI couldn't, and the AI will pick up on things that the human couldn't, and vice versa, right? So for us, like, the thing is, this is complementing the coach, the trainer, the billing manager, but it's saving the time. Think about what you were saying about being a recruiter. Being on the phone for 3 hours in an 8-hour workday, all the rest of the time, the busy work that you're doing, the writing notes. For me as an L&D person, a trainer, sitting there for hours putting together a training session, which now AI can do like that. Doing a coaching report for an hour, AI can do it like that. That's busy work. I'd rather be doing coaching all day and then letting the AI do all the busy work. which is, I think, kind of the message we're trying to get to people here is that, if you're looking at implementing these things, it's what's the actual outcome you're looking for, right?
I think the big word, and you were saying helping rightly, I think people should use the word augmenting. That's what AI does. It augments human capabilities to some degree in certain things like rocket ship levels, to others it's a smaller part, and then that changes kind of across your day and kind of what you do. So yeah, I mean, that is exactly it, right? You're not there to replace, but they can then go and do a better job with 50 people or 100 people, right? Because when you have any type of training, be it leadership training, anything, you are always bound by you and the amount of replica review that you've got in a room. And you can only take classes a certain size and everything else. But yeah, what if you could take it in a group of 50, but who are getting unbelievable, constant, live, one-to-one attention from a system with a top-up from the expert?
That's it. I was speaking to my wife this morning about how I utilise ChatGPT for myself, and I said, obviously we were talking before about the startup life being like not having a lot of money and stuff, and I've been using it and I've got my own like prompts, and I say put this cap on for this. So my copywriter compadre, my PT, my life coach, my business coach, my marketing advisor, my financial advisor, my relationship advisor. And I'm using AI for all these things. And at the moment, because I've had a PT before, I know how to lift and things like that. Every time I'm in the gym, I'm constantly just speaking to it. Right, what else could I be doing? How much should I rest here? I struggled on that rep. What do you recommend, etc. Because I know about that one specific thing, I don't need to go and pay money for a PT, right? But there are other things that I'm like, oh, that's a bit tough. Like AI is helping me, but the problem a lot, especially with ChatGPT, it's very, actually, I don't think that's a good idea. You're totally right, Rob. That's not a great idea. A second ago, you just said that was the best idea ever. Now you're just saying completely opposite. So I think that there are, for certain aspects, the AI is great, but that human person to come in and say, what have you done so far? Actually, we should kind of look at that. That's where, as for example, a business coach, you could just use ChatGPT as your business coach, but it might not be the best thing. By having someone that you're sat down with once a month to just reconsolidate some of the things you've done, like you mentioned, that little top up, that's where the power comes in, if that makes sense.
Well, it's the expertise of that person, right? And nuances, and these things can do an awful lot, but only to a point. And sometimes it can fib or hallucinate or take your pick, right? But that's only going to get better and better.
By the way, on that AI hallucination, I did not realise that was a thing until like 6 months ago. It's wild.
It's much better, and it's changing daily. But it is still a thing, and you just have to ask it: did you make that up, or did you? Yeah, fine. But again, it's that human in the loop. What do you want to wear? What's going to be beneficial? What can you do with it? Treat it in the right way. But that's how you need to see life and all these different things, because AI is ubiquitous, and it isn't a tech thing as well, by the way. It shouldn't be for CTOs or a CIO or just your tech specialist. Everyone should understand it. Every single person in your business and everyone across management and leadership should be all over getting as best they can information into themselves to be equipped to kind of manage and drive this going forward, from their own daily jobs to their teams to the whole business goals. You have to do that, I think.
What just lastly as well, we'll wrap up shortly, but because of, and I've been saying this a few times during this episode, it is overwhelming with how much is out there, right? Similar to like the fitness content. If you're into the gym, it is a fucking minefield. You go on YouTube and go on their shorts or TikTok, and it's like, you're doing bicep curls wrong. It's like, there's too much stuff out there. So with AI, I think for those agencies, for those founders that are, a bit overwhelmed with like, there's so much out there, and what's the right thing to kind of look at? How do I upskill on it? The easiest thing to say is just fucking go on ChatGPT and just what's the latest in AI and these are my problems and stuff. But from your perspective, for someone that is starting to try and learn about it, what are some good things for people to do to get in the loop around AI and how to implement it in their business?
Like, if you don't have your own Claude Pro license or a ChatGPT, you're missing out, right? And ask it and speak to it and understand it and create personas and play around and see what they're capable of, especially Claude, because it can build things. Try and build something. It's not hard. Build a little system or an app or a workflow. We'll do something, or an agent, and just then you'll start to get a bit of a feel of it. There's definitely loads of people worth following on LinkedIn and YouTube and various places. Experts like Ethan Mollick. There's a bunch of others who've written some brilliant books. Go and follow those people. There's places that give you quick updates every day. you don't have to pay a ton of attention. But if you're absorbing a little bit every day, like people might watch the news every day.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't, this is probably even more important,
Yeah.
quite frankly, right? So, people eat well, they exercise, you do all those things. So why would you not do 5 minutes of this? So I don't think you need to go mad. It's like we always try and say to people, just take steps.
Yeah.
Because baby steps build up, and that compounds over time.
Yeah.
Then you start getting interest in it, and then you start reading more. Like as I said, I had an interest in this space for 10 years because the friends I was lucky enough to work with and know built and sold companies for tens and tens of millions in this space. But I just listened to them.
Yeah.
And then it was a case of where I really need to do something, read up on it, and I've learnt loads from my colleagues, and then I read more, then I follow more people, and then you just pick up stuff. And then people are like, you seem to know quite a lot. It's not really. I'm just like an hour ahead. You just pay a little bit of attention, right? And get it. Now, in your business as a founder, any CEO or C-suite, that's what you should be doing. For your job regardless, doesn't matter whether it's AI or something else, you're always supposed to be pushing the tin, aren't you? Because if you're not, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't imagine anyone had a business goal this year of saying, I want to run as I did last year.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to get fitter, I don't want to be happier, I don't want to be healthier, I don't want to earn more money, or I don't want to spend more time with my kids. Any of those things, no one said just do the same or less than. So when you look at it with that mantra, why wouldn't you go and start adding something that does build very rapidly, right? And it isn't scary, it's fascinating stuff.
And that's the big mindset shift, isn't it? Is not looking at this as, oh my God, it's terrifying. Because my old Thai boxing coach, when he started getting down the rabbit hole, when he's ADHD like us, like gets hyper fixated on something and it's just everything. And he was talking about this podcast he listened to, and they were saying by 2030, cashiers won't be a thing, and and it looked like he was just in a fit of like paranoia and anxiety. And I was just like, yeah, but think about the jobs that it's going to create. And he was like, oh, I didn't really think about it like that. And I was talking to him about different revolutions that have happened. And it's like, yeah, these people fell off, but then there was other jobs. And I was like, it's a mindset shift to look at it. But what you said that I started to do probably 6 months ago now is on my Instagram that, you scroll through for half an hour a day or whatever. There's a couple of like interesting AI update pages. So that as you're scrolling and looking at memes and family and friends and whatever, and sports and news, you get a little slideshow of like 10 things that are happening in AI this week. And even just that
you probably follow some of the similar ones to me.
Probably, yeah. And it's just that in itself is such an easy thing to do, to just try and get yourself in the loop. But something interesting I wanted to pick your brains on before we finish is you mentioned about building your own agents and stuff. I'll be honest, I've not done that yet. When I spoke to Dougie from Sourcewell and I was talking about the things I'm looking for, he was like, mate, like literally just use Sourcewell. And I was like, oh, how much is it? I mean, I'm fucking sponsoring you, just have it. Like, you're going to be talking to people about it. So play around with it. And to be fair, it's done everything I need. But now I'm going to be building out our sales and marketing strategy. And I'm hearing a lot about people building agents on Claude and stuff. I've not been there yet. And I'm assuming a load of people listening to this is going, oh, I've not done that yet. So when it comes to like building agents and, just tell me a little bit about that and try and educate me.
Well, you can do things across any of those frontier models for sure, and then there are also there's like NAN and other agentic building solutions out there. And as I say, don't be frightened of them. An agent is an automated workflow. And then you can add in learning and the kind of thinking piece, which is what AI does, as opposed to just pure automation. But it's just doing a step of things. It's pulling together a string of things you would normally have done manually or linked a load of things together into one process that is done by AI, right? And done at speed and volume, which is kind of what you want, things like sort of sales and marketing. Irrespective, you always just want quality and speed. Doesn't matter what we do, that's what you want. Quicker and better is better than anything else. So I'd play around in the systems, and I'd say Claude now, for example, I mean, it's got Claude code, so you can then go and code in there. You can take that and go and get it to build something. You can even take that, build an app. You can take that into Lovable and extract it if you want, or it builds something for you. It's now got Claude Design, which is immense. I've only started playing around with it recently, but put any of your old documents or pitch decks or PowerPoints into it and just watch what it does. So, those are just go and start, because you're not messing anything up.
Yeah.
You're just playing around. Right, it's like making 100 phone calls and learning which is the best way to kind of say something and do something, or you're taking tips from people. But you can do this in your spare time at home and just have a bit of fun. But it's amazing what the output is. And actually then you're like, oh my God, here's the capability. Oh, I did that. Isn't that really interesting? So there's things you can do yourself, for your world. There's probably some really good AI native systems out there that can do it. There's a friend of mine built one. He was a CRO and growth lead. He then built a AI-driven sales system, which wasn't quite right, and he's closed it, but he's rebuilt now something from all the learnings based on marketing, which is really fascinating, because again, it's all around what would I want to do, what would I want my team to do, what do I never have the time to do, and how do we best reach these people with this kind of tone, knowing what he knows now and learned in the last couple of years about AI. And it's like fascinating. So you can either do stuff yourself or go and find these up and coming new businesses that often also won't charge the earth either. But like I said, I don't think a lot of people are brave enough to try brand new things. So going back to my point about ChatGPT, everyone having it by the Saturday, was because word spread. Oh, well, I better try that. I better try that. That looks fun. That looks fun. And then, Claude's gone mad. None of them are old. None of them. Right? Even XAI. So Musk's one is, half the AI. I mean, actually, OpenAI has been around since about 2014. So Anthropic's much younger, right? Who built Claude. XAI is 2.5 years old. And I've had a demo from some of their stuff, and Grok is insanely powerful.
Really?
Yeah. To the point there, when you get it to do something, it creates its own. It's got up to 125 internal agents and personas that it uses to check on the work you've asked it to do.
Damn. That's powerful.
And I looked at my colleagues who are experts in this space, right? And even they afterwards went, holy shit. Like, did you see that? And I'm going, I was impressed, but it looked like you were. And they're like, yeah. And these are working in enterprise organisations, right, at scale. So that's when you know. But because Musk's ploughing everything into it, because he wants it to be the best, and he has some insanely good ideas, to be fair to him, right?
Yeah.
So they push the tin. So it's incredible. So there's lots of places to start. The key thing is just start. It's like you procrastinate, fine.
Well, it's like anything, like you mentioned about, like, if you want to get fit and healthy, you can sit there and procrastinate and go on YouTube and think about what should I be doing, or you could just go to the gym and pick a fucking dumbbell up. And then just it compounds every day, and all of a sudden you're lifting more, lifting heavier, etc. And then you figure out, okay, what am I actually looking to achieve here? Do I want to get lean? Do I want to get big? Do you want to just get healthier? Like, then you figure it out, but it's just start. Because unfortunately, the longer you leave it, like anything, diet, fitness, for example, making sales calls, the longer you leave it, the harder it is. I'll give you a good example. Have you heard of a website platform called V0 app? It's just a vibe coding platform. And when we had the wireframe for Milo about 6 months ago, I just whacked the wireframe into that and said, basically design, these are the branding kind of colours and templates and stuff. And it just basically created the entire platform, minus the speaking to Milo aspect, but something that I can create a video and say, this is what it's going to look like. Bear in mind, the wireframe was black and white, and it's just, there was nothing, no branding, nothing on it. And I sent it to people and was like, what do you think so far? Like, what would you add? What would you subtract? And people go, oh, this looks really slick. I literally did 3 prompts and it went, there you go, done. And I was like, interesting. What else could I do? Thinking, what about like a diagnostic tool for solo founders? It's like, here you go, here's a couple of prompts. Here's my infinite learning branding. There you go, bang. There's a quiz there with 10 questions, gives you a score, gives you some like value. Like if you're struggling with cold calls, here's a script for an opener. Here's how I'd structure your calls. If you want to learn more, here's my details. Here's my Calendly link. And I was like, literally spent 6 hours, because I'm fucking useless with that kind of, well, I was, but just playing around with it and just like getting immersed in it and going, okay, cool. And now I'm speaking to so many people that come on the podcast that are, spending specific days of their week just trying to understand it and playing around with things and seeing what's useful, what works, what doesn't work. And that's, for me, is a huge takeaway, is just play around with these things, get immersed in it.
It's immensely powerful. I know a couple of universities now that are giving the frontier models at big top end to students from 18. They're giving set times they can play around. I know a couple of businesses now that have between half and a day a week to just go build and play. Learn, mess around, fail, doesn't matter. Do something against something you think might be useful for the business or your job or somebody else. And that's amazing when you give people the freedom and the power to express themselves. And that's when you really see where, what talent's like and what can be done. To the point where I know another business that now gives 2 days a week. And some people have panicked at the top going, oh, but we're taking them away. Charles isn't doing that job anymore. But it's like, yeah, but look what they are doing. And look what things are changing at the speed in our business. So I think that type of thing, because the point is, you want to be an AI native business with a really good AI culture. in reality, at some point in time in the next 12, 24, 18 months, right? That's what you need to do. And that's not just create a working group with all people who don't know what they're doing, but, I know another business that has an AI team across taking people from all departments at all ages with no experience in technology. But we've all got an interest and they're curious and they want to play and learn. And they meet every Friday. They have another separate Slack and WhatsApp group, and they play and they play and they really do push boundaries. And he said some of the best things we've done have all come from that team, from some of the most junior people. Someone who just started in the marketing role came up with something. She went off and built her own agent, and he came back and he knows quite a lot. And he went, Christ. But again, ironically, he's one of these people. You can always tell when people are doing quite a lot with AI, which isn't many, because they're very humble. And they always think they're behind. And he's like, we're not doing much. And I got him to speak to my colleague and he went, yeah, they're doing quite a bit. Because they're trying and they're listening, they're learning, and they want to keep going and they think the end is far away. So yeah, I think, if you're not curious, then why?
Yeah, some of the best recruiters I've worked with, even if they're top biller by 300 grand, they're like, I'm doing all right. Like that kind of mindset, I love that mindset. When you see people that are just really, really humble, really fucking good at what they're doing, but they're still striving for more. It's a fucking great mindset.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't look at, when we just even people that everyone can kind of resonate with, top end elite sports people and everybody else. If we just even focus on Messi and Ronaldo, how much extra time do they put in every day to do whatever it is they wanted to do? And people go, Messi scores these free kicks because he took 10,000 in practice. Are you going to do that? Probably not. You might slump off home with your 100 grand a week and go and, do your 2 hours of exercise that you've done today, which isn't really that strenuous. So, what are you prepared to do, right? The humble leads often to exceptional performance and greatness.
Yeah. I met a guy I've joined this gym up the road and they've got a whole dedicated room for boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. And I made friends with this guy who's a boxer and he was seeing me kick the bag and stuff. And he was like, I always get so bored sometimes if I'm just punching. He's like, I wish I could learn to kick. And I was like, I'll show you if you want. And I was like showing him like the technique and stuff like that. And because I've been doing it for like nearly 10 years now, and I've self-taught myself to kick when I was, 15? So technically I've been doing it for fucking half my life, right? It's like, it's so simple, it's so seamless. And I was like, yeah, but you throwing a right cross is so simple and seamless because you've probably thrown, 10, 20,000 of them. It's like anything. I literally tried to educate him. It's like anything. If you just do the fucking reps and look back and, I've got so many videos on my personal YouTube of me hitting the bag and sparring and stuff. And I'm so self-critical and like, okay, why did my hand drop there? Or like, I didn't put my hip enough into it. It's like most people, like to go back to a recruitment analogy, make 10,000 phone calls, but never actually self-analyze them. Never go back and go, why did that deal not go through? And those are the people that will get left behind. Like some of the best performers are so relentless and self-critical, not in a negative way, but they go back and they fine-tune things and constantly looking to try and get better, which is a perfect segue for my last question. Following this particular episode, how can people get that 1% better in recruitment?
Start the journey, right? If you're not going to get on the train, you're never going to start getting that 1% better. And the good thing with AI is you can get a whole lot more than 1% better, right? It's the first time we've been able to make significant jumps of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%, right? There's some insane things going on. Start reading, follow a few people. If you haven't got note takers and things like that, get them in your business. Make a small plan of what you'd like to do and who you'd like to speak to, or just areas you'd like to know more about in the next 3 months, and just start working towards it. It's no different to any 90-day plan. Follow, read, listen, be curious, don't be overly negative. Never think it can do too much. But I've also met a load of people that say, I'm just too busy. Bullshit. Like, honestly. I'm not saying they're not busy, but if you're not thinking about it and you're actively having some conversations in that time, that's foolish in my opinion, right? Because it should be a number one priority that you look at this stuff in some way. I'm not saying it takes over life. And don't go, well, I don't really believe in it. I don't think it. I still speak to people that say that. Now, occasionally you could convert them and it's wonderful when you show them what's going on. But again, it's because they're not reading. If they don't think stuff is happening, like, where have you been? Are you hiding under a rock or are you too scared, I think, is reality. So those are the bits. Start, play, be curious, experiment, have things at home, do it in your spare time, make a small plan, bring a couple of things in, start speaking to different people, really try and look at AI native stuff. Sorry to all the people that are rappers on top of legacy systems, but I'd be a bit more cautious of some of them. Some will still have some good things that they can do, but that would be my starting point.
Yeah, way more than 1%, mate, but yeah, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. No, I appreciate you coming around. I'll put all your details in the bottom of this episode, obviously. I recommend people reach out to you if they've got questions around AI stuff. And look, you've been super helpful to me in my journey and learning about AI and setting up Milo, and being that person to speak to about all the challenges, highs and lows that I've had. So really grateful for that, and grateful for you to make the journey here again to do the podcast. So thank you very much, mate.
Pleasure, love it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for watching this week's episode. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to know what your biggest takeaway was from this week's episode. I am also looking for new people to come on the show. So if you are someone that has an interesting story, you've got loads of passion around a specific topic that can help the recruitment industry, or perhaps it's someone that you might know, please reach out to me. I reach out to a lot of people myself. I get a lot of people reach out to me, but there's so many people in this industry that I might not necessarily be aware of. So please put people in touch with me, or get in touch with me if you are interested in appearing on the show. We record most of the episodes at my house here in Welwyn Garden City. I do them remotely sometimes for international guests, and I've got a couple of studios in London that I can use as well. And I can also go to your office as well. I go to people's offices to do them all the time. But look, I really enjoy doing this podcast, and I'm always curious to hear people's feedback on what we can do to make it better, right? So if you have made it this far and you've got some ideas, I'm all ears. That rhymed, it sounded really silly. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate all the love and support, and we'll see you next week.